Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. Let's kick off with a classic tale of an unwanted freeloader overstaying his welcome. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Freeloader boyfriend overstays his welcome, learns the hard way we don't take crap. When I was a uni student, one of my housemates was dating a guy from her hometown. She invited him to come visit for a couple of weeks, which we were all fine with, but that couple of weeks visit very quickly turned into him moving in and mooching off us. They both informed us he would find a job and pay his fair share, but this didn't happen. He made no effort to find a job, he didn't pay any rent, paid nothing towards the bills, did nothing towards cleaning the house. He just spent all his time taking up our communal area, playing video games and watching TV. In the end, we had enough. It was about 3 months into his squatting that us remaining 3 housemates had a chat about whether this was acceptable. Obviously, we were all in agreement that it wasn't, and set up a meeting with the girlfriend and the interloper. It was decided I would be the one to broach the subject and take the lead on the conversation, informing them both that he had overstayed his welcome and it was time he went home. He argued that he'd been struggling to find a job and that's why he was unable to pay his way, but we all pointed out he hadn't even made any attempts to find a job, just spending all his time on the sofa playing video games. Eventually, his girlfriend agreed that he'd been taking the pee a bit and asked if he wouldn't mind going home. He did, and I thought it was the end of it. Oh, it wasn't. On the day of his moving out, he proceeded to post something on Facebook, thanking my other 2 housemates for being welcoming hosts while deliberately dragging my butt in the posts, claiming I was really poor host and was throwing him out for no reason. Of course, I wasn't going to stand for that, calling him out and making it very clear it was a collective house decision and he'd been living with us rent-free for several months, which was not acceptable, and pointing out we would have been happy for him to stay if he was paying any contribution to the house, but he wasn't. That ended in him making a groveling apology under my comment, saying he was sorry and he didn't intend for it to come out like that, etc., etc. I didn't accept it, because he knew what he was doing and just said he should take the post down because he'd made an idiot out of himself. He did. But I still made sure my side of the story was out there by making my own post. Anyway, he went home. We got our house back and he didn't visit again. Anytime my housemate and he wanted to see each other, she would go back home. After a few weeks, I'd found that he had also set up mobile contracts with his address listed as ours and was not paying them. I gave all the bills to my housemate to give to him. They eventually broke up, but honestly, she wasted too much time and energy on the complete waste of space. He was just an entitled user who didn't expect to come up against 3 girls who weren't going to take his crap. I absolutely love how you and your housemates handled this situation. What's especially satisfying is that he didn't just lose his free crash pad, but also his girlfriend eventually. Honestly, she deserved better. And it sounds like you all did her a favor by forcing some accountability into the situation. Major props to you and the girls for standing your ground. And our second story. When Karen claimed she knew the owner. 2 nights before this incident, my city was hit by an intense storm with unusually strong winds. Trees were uprooted, fences blown over, and rooftops damaged. Our own house wasn't spared. The storm ripped a plastic dome right off the roof, leaving a gaping hole that let in heavy rain. We spent the whole night bailing water and the next day repairing the damage. After such an exhausting ordeal, my parents decided we needed a break and took us to one of our favorite restaurants. The restaurant, an open-air terrace known for its casual, fancy vibe, had also been hit hard by the storm. The staff were clearly scrambling to recover, and even the owner, a huge, friendly man, was down on his hands and knees fixing something near the bar. He was dressed in work clothes and covered in grease, so if you didn't know him, you'd think he was just part of the maintenance crew. We settled in, ready to enjoy our meal, when the lights suddenly went out, a blackout. The power company was fixing a nearby line, and everything in the area was affected. The restaurant staff quickly lit candles, creating a cozy, albeit dim ambiance. Most of us took it in stride. These things happen. But not Karen. She was seated with a man and two other women, and her shrill voice cut through the dimly lit restaurant as she began whistling and clapping to get the staff's attention. "Fix it! This is unacceptable," she shouted. Heads turned and the room went silent, save for Karen's escalating complaints. The owner, hearing the commotion, got up and approached her table. Calmly, he explained that they were working on starting the backup generator and assured her that everything would be fine shortly. He also politely asked her to keep her voice down as her outburst was disturbing other guests. Karen wasn't having it. She stood up, pointing her finger in his face. "Do you know who I am?" she bellowed. "I'm friends with the owner, and I'll have you fired for talking to me like that." The restaurant went dead silent. Karen's table mates looked mortified, clearly wishing they could melt into their seats. The owner, however, remained composed. "You know the owner, do you?" he asked. His voice tingled with sarcasm. "That's funny because I am the owner." His tone shifted, booming with authority. "And you're not welcome here. Gather your things, take your friends, and get out of my restaurant." Karen froze, her mouth agape. For a moment, it seemed like she might apologize, but instead she doubled down. "You'll regret this," she shouted, storming toward the exit. "I'm calling the police." Most of us thought she was bluffing, but to everyone's surprise, about 15 minutes later, two officers walked into the restaurant. Karen was outside, pointing at the building and making animated gestures. The officers approached the owner, who'd clearly been waiting for this moment. "Let me guess," he said, smirking. "She told you I assaulted her or something equally ridiculous?" The officers nodded, looking skeptical. "She claims you unfairly kicked her out." The owner chuckled and gestured toward several guests, including me and my parents. "Feel free to ask anyone here what happened. We got plenty of witnesses." The officers went table to table, gathering statements from guests, all of whom confirmed Karen's disruptive behavior and the owner's polite request for her to leave. When the officers returned to Karen, who was still ranting outside, they informed her that her claims didn't hold up. But Karen wasn't done. She kept yelling and insisting she'd been wronged until one of the officers noticed something suspicious. Her car was parked illegally in a spot reserved for restaurant deliveries. When they asked for her license and registration, Karen's confidence finally wavered. She stammered, "I must have left it at home." Turned out Karen had been driving without a valid license. The officers escorted her to her car, issued her several citations, and eventually towed her vehicle. The sight of her being forced to leave in the back of a squad car had the entire restaurant erupting in applause. The owner, ever the gracious host, returned to the dining area and apologized for the disturbance. He offered complimentary drinks and desserts, ensuring everyone left on a high note despite Karen's antics. Sometimes karma doesn't just catch up to you. It arrives with flashing lights and a tow truck. Ah, sweet karmic justice. Karen's audacity reached peak levels, only to be swiftly dismantled by the very person she tried to intimidate. And our last story. Karen parks in my driveway. Living next to a school can be both a blessing and a curse. Sure, the sound of kids playing can be charming, but the battlefield that is pickup time? Absolute chaos. Cars lined up on both sides of the narrow street, parents desperate for prime waiting spots, and inevitably, some entitled souls who think everyone else's property is free real estate. Most days I shrug it off when a parent backs up into my driveway to wait for their kid. If I don't need to go anywhere, fine. No harm, no foul. But this particular day? Oh, this day was different. I'd just come home, tired and ready to pull into my garage. Lo and behold, there's a woman in a gleaming SUV parked smack in the middle of my driveway. Not even hugging the edge. Nope, fully parked like she paid rent. I pull up behind her, put my car in park, and get out. Me. "Excuse me, ma'am, could you just pull out for a second so I can get into my garage? You can back up once I'm in." She doesn't even turn her head fully to look at me. Her response? "Karen, I'll just be a few minutes." A few minutes? Really? Me. "Ma'am, I live here. I'd like to park in my own driveway." She gives me the dismissive wave that only someone marinating in entitlement can pull off. "Karen, it's not a big deal. I'll move in a bit." Now I'm blocking the road, and because this street's already clogged with cars on both sides, traffic starting to pile up, I look at her, incredulous. Me. "I can't wait here for a few minutes. I'm blocking traffic." Her face doesn't even flicker. Karen, just give me a minute. All right, that's it. I took a deep breath and said, okay. No, you won't be. I parked my car perpendicular to hers, blocking both my driveway and her SUV. I got out of my car with all the calm of a man who decided he has all the time in the world. Me, casually with a grin. I really have to use the bathroom. Stomach cramps, you know. Feel free to call the police if you'd like. I'll be out in a bit. The look on her face was a perfect mix of horror and disbelief. She finally turned to look at me, jaw slightly unhinged, as I strolled up my driveway and into the house like I just won the Nobel Prize in pettiness. Couple minutes later, the honking began. Just a soft, polite honk at first, like maybe that would make me rush out. Silly Karen. Few more minutes pass, and the polite honks turn to the kind of aggressive, sustained horn blaring usually reserved for rush hour meltdowns. Then, ding-dong. I check my Ring doorbell and see a little boy standing there looking panicked. I answer through the speaker, me. I'll be out in a minute, I'm washing my hands. And I swear to you, I hear the little boy yell back toward the SUV, he says he's washing his hands. At this point, my neighbors are all peeking out from their curtains, wondering what in the world is going on. It's practically a neighborhood event now, with kids and parents still trying to figure out how to escape the vehicular gridlock Karen helped create. A few minutes later, pure silence. The traffic jam cleared, the students gone, and there she was, trapped in the loneliest driveway on earth. I took my sweet, sweet time walking back out. I avoided eye contact as I strolled past her car, taking a moment to enjoy the sound of birds chirping. Once I got in my car, I didn't just drive away. No, I adjusted the mirrors, I moved the seat forward, then back, slowly turned the ignition, and then, only then, I reversed my car and pulled into my garage. The second I was out of the way, her tires screeched as she sped off like she was escaping a hostage situation. When I explained to my neighbors what had happened, one of them shook his head and said, "Oh yeah, that's what I figured." Moral of the story, don't block someone's driveway, because sometimes the bathroom might take a really long time. People like Karen bank on others being too nice or flustered to challenge them, and you flipping the script so smoothly gave her exactly what she deserved. And there you have it, a petty masterpiece executed with calm precision. Karen won't forget you anytime soon. If driveway justice had a Hall of Fame, you'd have your own plaque. Legendary. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.